Right, Trav, Namibia, what's happening?
Oh, mate. Okay, so story is unfolding as we speak, right? There's this article in Bloomberg and there's also an article in mining.com, and these articles are doing the rounds on social media and they're flowing through into the live stock price markets as well. So what we can see is from these articles is that Namibia appears to be considering taking minority stakes in mining companies amid increasing concerns of local ownership of their natural resources.
Now, JD did a bit of a piece not long ago talking about how Tanzania, how they're back in the game now, and the country ownership that's happening there. And we did discuss, will this be a bit of a catalyst for other countries to start looking to do the same and increase their ownership within countries? So
yeah,
it could be a follow-on or not.
It's a big theme in the broader mining sector at the moment. Absolutely, mate. And I think the quote that's getting a lot of people worried is this quote from the Mines and Energy Minister, Tom Olwindo. And I just want to read this quote out. So, as reported by Bloomberg, "We are making a case that local ownership must start with the state, which holds ownership of our natural resources. The proposed state ownership should take the form where the state owns a minimum equity percentage in all mining companies and petroleum production, for which it does not have to pay." It's a pretty strong quote, right?
That's a good deal.
It's basically, implying the government should have a free carried interest in its natural resources projects, both mining and petroleum related. So pretty strong words there, and what you've seen is the market kind of be a bit scared of what could be a bit of a regime change in Namibia, and why does this matter for the money miners, right?
So who's been affected so far? Who's got the biggest exposures in Namibia on the ASX, Trav?
Well, the ASX, it's definitely the uranium names, right? Like Paladin, mate, they were down 20% today, and they actually ended up going in a trading halt pending an announcement in relation to this quote. So, TBA, what comes out there, but down 20%, absolutely smacked. You've got Deep Yellow there. They're down 12% as we speak, but the stock's actually, kept trading. It's not in a halt yet. Lotus, they're down 6%. Bannerman, down 4.5%. There's also some gold developers that are impacted by this too. WIA Gold, they're down 8%. Ascari Metals, they've got a project in Namibia, but they're flat for the day. And then, of course, there's offshore oil and gas impact too, but that's less relevant to the ASX names out there. So, Look, Matty, there's a bit to talk about here, and clearly it's having a pretty big impact on the stock market today. But let me just say it's bloody hard to actually locate a primary source for this statement. So I've done some digging, right? Because if it's a statement from, the minister, I'm really keen to actually just see where has he made this statement, what's the context, because all of that matters, right? Like if it's a statement from a minister, it's a big difference if this statement is in the context of introducing new legislation, or if it's in a statement in relation to a discussion that's happening about potential things that could be beneficial. There's a big difference, and that context really matters. So I did some digging, and when you look beyond just the Bloomberg article, what could I find? Well, I actually found a bit of a tweet on old Twitter from the Parliament of Namibia. And we'll put this one up on YouTube for the money miners. But what we see is there's a tweet out there, and it says the two parliamentary standing committees of the NA Economics and Public Administration, and that's of Natural Resources, jointly organised a 6-day oversight workshop on maximising potentials of mining and energy sector in Namibia from the 29th of May to the 3rd of June. So I think this is the forum in which these comments have been made. There's a 6-day workshop, and there's a bunch of parliamentary members there, and it's all in relation to maximising the potential of the mining and energy sector in Namibia. I think this context is potentially lost in the stories doing the rounds, because a workshop is a very different setting to the sort of setting where there's proposed legislation. I'm not saying that this isn't a view that would ultimately result in legislation, but a workshop isn't legislation. They're very different, right?
So what's the sequence of events? This workshop's happened. Someone has leaked the comment from this natural resources
I don't
minister.
think it's probably not leaked. There's probably some
proceedings from
Yeah,
it? Or
it's probably live. I'm not sure. There might be some live stream of it. There might be something. But yeah, like Bloomberg's picked up on a quote. I mean, we've separately found an interview with a different minister who's sort of talking about some of the events. It's only got 200 views on YouTube, but it gives you a bit more contextual, insight into what the real thinking in the government of Namibia is. And I think like you read the headline there and it seems like you get the impression, oh no, here's another African nation that's looking to be like pretty extractive to its mining and petroleum industry. Maybe that is the case, but also maybe it's just a forum where there's a bunch of ideas presented and some of those ideas are good and have merit and some of them don't. Maybe there's a lot more to play out in this domain for a country and a political regime that has an election next year as well. And like all of that stuff matters when we sort of weigh it all up.
But it's certainly got some legs, this story, like the fact that
Big time.
Bloomberg's written the article on it. You've got companies down 20% and going into trading halts because of it. So you would take from that there is some significant substance to the story.
Big time. Yeah, I make this substance. It's clearly material to markets. But, sometimes markets have a bit of a knee-jerk reaction to what seemed like, there's fearful headlines. So I just think it's important to kind of contextualize it. And, in some of my other digging, Maddie, I also found an article from earlier this month where members of the Namibian parliament were actually calling for heads to roll, including Tom Alwindo, for grey areas in the law which allowed damaging environmental activities without proper environmental assessment.
So this is the Tom Alwindo that's made this comment.
Correct, yeah. And this article, it was sort of pointing at a project which was the lithium joint venture between Jinfeng and Longfire Investments, in which apparently no environmental impact assessment was conducted. So, the minister is clearly under a bit of public pressure at the moment, and that's the context for which these comments have surfaced today. A minister under pressure for not being forceful enough on the mining sector has sort of got a response now that's extremely kind of extractive when you interpret it from the mining sector. But I think we should definitely have a chat about what it would mean if these comments had a bit of a potential to become legislation, because it's a really damn tricky thing to navigate for mining companies. You really just want so much certainty of political regime. You want to know, you just want certainty on what those dynamics are going to be like out into the future, because otherwise it's so damn hard to get financing if there's no certainty of political regime.
And then especially when you're in the middle of studies or had studies completed based on a certain government ownership or government rate, and then throw this in the mix now, just creates that whole uncertainty to whether these projects might become not as viable to construct.
Yeah.
So it throws a lot of things up into the air.
Yeah, totally. And Namibia is often kind of advertised as a tier one political jurisdiction. Tier one's thrown around pretty loosely in some instances, but its political regime in relation to mining is often advertised as like a pro-mining jurisdiction. And when you see statements like this coming from the minister, whether they hold weight or not, it really throws into question the stability of, the mining regime that is there. And I think what we are absolutely seeing worldwide is higher commodity prices and a bunch of governments that are sort of, seeing the real beneficiaries of those higher commodity prices being the international investors and not the, the local people, and they're wanting to extract a greater share than they currently are in that higher price environment. And
then you've got the effect this has on companies dealing with Namibia as we speak, but then this, as we've previously mentioned, the flow-on effect to other countries that might think, well, we might get on the front foot with our country ownership as well. Mm-hmm. So which puts the whole international mining world up in the air a bit.
Totally. And as you mentioned, mate, this is a theme we're seeing across a lot of countries at the moment. We saw Tanzania adopt a 16% free carried interest model. We've talked about the issues with PNG.
I haven't talked about PNG for a while. Jeez, there's a bit of PTSD again there.
Yeah.
But and they're going for over 50%. So that's crazy over there.
And there's other governments, right, that are making noise too, including Zimbabwe, Brazil, Chile, Indonesia, Philippines, and Peru. They're all pushing for more value from their minerals. or increased state intervention.
Because Chile they were nationalising the lithium, was that correct?
Yeah, I think nationalising, it's kind of a headline that was rebutted a little bit, but that was the headline that was grabbing attention. But yeah, in one way, shape or form, they're looking for increased state intervention and increased economic interest in these projects that are creating a lot of value. So it's one to just watch, and how it sort of plays out on a global scale is going to be interesting. I think what it is really going to increasingly do over time is highlight the real premium of having a mining project in a state where you have pretty much certainty of mining, of stable political mining regimes over time, like Western Australia.
God, they're going to become slim pickings, possibly, these areas soon.
Yeah.
When you add in all the political risk of these countries, and then head over to North America for permitting risks when you're dealing with that sort of stuff. It's finding that jurisdiction like Australia will be very hard to come by. But I can't say, like, it definitely stands out more and more each time a story like this comes out.
Big time.